Hey guys, before we start, a quick shout out to Alpha Dog Nutrition for sponsoring this podcast. Alpha Dog products are now available at dusupply.com, and you can use code ALPHADOG15 at checkout for 15% off and a credit for free shipping to try it yourself. Now let's get you to your podcast.
Find yourself in the pages of Full Cry as we dive into the archives of America's leading tree dog publication. Join us as we look back at decades of stories, articles, and more written by those bold enough to follow the echoes of a hound.
It's in the Bag by Dick Muldoon. The lion I will always remember, I believe, was the first one I ever caught with the dogs that I raised from puppies. It wasn't just my first lion, it was the first of the very few I ever captured alone. I had been down sick in bed for a week or more, either with the flu or from the results of a tick bite. I'm not sure, as it happened nearly 40 years ago. After getting on my feet, I decided to go south, 45 miles or so from my home in Independence, California, to a place a friend had just seen some fresh lion tracks just a couple of days before. I drove along a 2-track road. Road is not a proper description, believe me. About 3 miles north of the main Forest Service of Haywee Canyon, on the eastern side of the High Sierras. Parking my 1963 Chevrolet 4-wheel drive pickup, I took my 2 dogs, a Mathis Lion Hound and a Walker Foxhound bred by Charlie Tant, and started the climb of about a mile or so up toward Mud Spring at the 7,000 or 8,000 foot level. I'm sure it took me a long time to pull the nearly straight up trail, as I felt weak from being laid up so long. I had both dogs, neither of which was much past 1.5 years old, coupled together and followed me right at my heels as I had trained them to do. Steve Mathis had advised me to train my dogs from early on to follow me when not actually working or running any kind of a track. Eventually they would learn to stay back without the use of coupling snaps. It was not long, as I recall, when both pups were trying to push by me. I was putting a leash on them when I looked down and saw several lion tracks in the deep dust of the trail right under my feet. I kept them on the leash, but let them go ahead of me. They were both whining and working the brush on both sides of the trail, about 2 feet up off the ground. I was certain that the tracks were very fresh. I turned both of them loose and they blew right out of there, baying every breath. At just the same moment, the wind rose up hard, blowing like it seems it always does as soon as a man turns a dog loose. The dogs were out of hearing almost immediately. I had to sit down on a rock to get myself together. I was sweating hard and breathing harder, and felt like I might pass out from the climb and my being in such poor physical condition from my illness. The wind was now blowing so hard I could not hear the dogs. The last I heard of them, they were headed full open straight up the mountain. I climbed out on a bluff to try and locate my dogs when I saw a lion right below me about 100 feet on top of a fresh killed deer. I got so excited that I didn't know what to do. I raised my Winchester 30-30 and almost fired. Only a person who hunts with hounds would understand why I did not shoot. Just about this time, I heard the dogs coming right back down the mountain, heading straight at me, screaming on the track. The lion, a female, heard them also, and left in a flash off her fresh kill and off the little ledge she was on and out of sight. I started yelling at the top of my lungs, hoping to get the dogs on her, not knowing for sure it was her track they were on. At this instant, another lion, a yearling female or possibly some months younger, climbed right up the pinyon pine that the dead deer was laying under. When I saw this, I really got excited and called loudly for the dogs, who had made a loss just about then. I had a very good handle at that time on both Rip, the Mathis Hound, and on Tina, Tant female, and came right in under me and right onto the fresh kill. I yelled to them and then looked up and immediately saw the treed lion. They went to treeing hard. I climbed down off my place on the rocks above and got them to treeing solid on the young lion. Both dogs seemed to want to leave to get back to the other track. I grabbed Tina and tried to send Rip alone after the female that had made the kill. He left for a short time, but soon returned to the tree. I sat down and tried to figure out just what to do. I was sure that there was at least another young lion, along with the adult female, as well as the youngster I had treed. Yes, I'm sure that my yelling had caused the young female, as that is how it turned out, to tree right before my eyes. This was the perfect lion to take alive. I had been told how to do this and had the equipment back at the truck to do it with, but was not sure I could get back down and make the return trip. And having the strength left to sack up the lion, I left the dogs at the tree. Now understand this situation. I need to explain to the reader that this was the first lion these young dogs ever treed or had ever seen. They had been on plenty of bobcat and coon and a few bears, but no hot or fresh lion tracks, and neither could be considered deer or coyote broke. Tina left the tree as I got about 100 yards away, and then Rip pulled too. I took them back. The lion was still there, feeling quite safe and secure, or so it seemed. I did something I would never do again, but it should be considered by anyone reading this that I knew very little at the time about lion hunting or much else, especially attempting to take a lion alive. This young female appeared to weigh about 60 pounds, possibly less. She had no spots, but still had the black bars under her upper legs that indicate an immature lion. I coupled Rip and Tina together. Having somehow lost or laid down my leash and not been able to find it, I took a lace from one of my boots and tied the dogs to a small sapling right below the pinion holding the lion. They had settled good, so I thought this might work. I do not recall how long it took me to get off the mountain and to my truck, but on getting there I realized I was not going to be able to pack the large canvas bag, rope, light, cable, and myself back up to the dogs and lion and have enough strength to get the cat roped, tied up, and sacked up, and then carry it back down to the truck. It came to mind that it was only about an hour or less to a friend's house who I knew would be willing to help me get the lion if he was at home. I got there, told Bill what I'd gotten into, and he agreed to come help. As it came to pass, he did a lot more than just help. After getting back up on the mountain, Bill ran ahead, knowing I would have to stop too often. We discovered both dogs gone, but the lion still treed. We could hear the dogs above us in the big bluffs right under the rim of the Sierras. The fact that I believed both dogs to still be coupled together caused me a lot of concern for their safety. I was certain the adult female had returned to claim both her kill and her kitten, and figured the dogs had fought her and ran back up the mountain. Bill told me, "Dick, build a fire and settle down here. I'll get those dogs." He did not have to say it twice. I had some coffee and water in a lard can in a sack and built a fire to get the coffee boiling. In about an hour, Bill returned with Rip and Tina. Luckily, they had broke loose from the coupling and were trailing in the bluffs, where no doubt the lion had gotten over the top on them. Bill got the rope on the lion and jerked it out of the tree, and between the two of us, we got it tied up. We put a heavy stick, not heavy enough it turned out, in its mouth, and then tied it in good. The best thing to use on the feet was a couple pair of regular handcuffs, but we used light rope I had along and got the cat shoved into the canvas bag, all but her front feet and her head, and then started carrying her off the mountain. We did this after eating some canned beans I had in the gunny sack and drinking our coffee. The trip down to the truck was not bad. I handled the dogs, and Bill did most of the lion work. We could not put the cat into the dog box with the dogs, so Bill put it on the floor and put his feet on the sacked up lion. Things went pretty good until all of a sudden the lion, we discovered, had bitten the oak stick right in two and gotten her front paws untied and was working herself out of the sack. Bill threw open his door. I cut the engine and set the handbrake, and we gave the pickup to the lion. I truly do not recall just how we got the lion recaptured, but we did it. Bill came through Luna last year and spent the night. We had a good laugh over the lion hunt. Somehow in all my hunting, I have always managed to have hunts that were a little more interesting, to me at least, than the average hunts I hear about today. Things were different back then, I guess.
Like what you heard? Leave us a review and make sure to tag @FullCryMag when sharing your own adventures. You can check out more vintage content and get your subscription to the all-new Full Cry magazine at www.fullcrymag.com. From the pages of Full Cry is a Full Cry production. We want to thank our sponsors and encourage everyone to support those who support our lifestyle. This episode would not be possible without the support of Next Level Super Premium Dog Food and W Hunting Supply. Until next time, keep those dogs in the woods and find yourself in the pages of Full Cry.